I never thought I'd find myself standing in my office at Maxwell Industries on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, staring at a cardboard box that now held 5 years of my career. The corner office I'd earned through countless late nights and sacrificed weekends felt suddenly foreign, like I was looking at it through someone else's eyes. "You have an hour to clear out," Robert Maxwell said from the doorway, his expensive suit perfectly pressed, his smile carrying that particular brand of corporate cruelty I'd become all too familiar with. "Sarah will be taking over your position effective immediately." Sarah, my younger sister, the golden child who had never worked a day in her life until 6 months ago, when she decided she wanted to try her hand at the corporate world. Of course, she started directly as a senior manager, courtesy of her friendship with Catherine Maxwell, Robert's daughter. I carefully placed my awards into the box: Regional Manager of the Year, 3 years running; Top Performance in Sales, 2022, 2023, and 2024. Each accolade a testament to the dedication they were now discarding. "Don't forget to hand over your building access card," Robert added, clearly enjoying this moment. "We wouldn't want any unfortunate incidents." My building access card. I suppressed a smile as I pulled it from my lanyard, remembering the real estate deed safely stored in my home office safe. Phoenix Holdings LC, the company through which I owned this entire building, was my most carefully guarded secret. Not even my sister knew that her big brother was her landlord. "Of course, Mr. Maxwell," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Though I should remind you that the quarterly rent review is coming up. I'm sure you've received the notice from Phoenix Holdings." Robert waved his hand dismissively. Yes. Sarah will handle all that now. She's much more diplomatic than you. I'm sure she'll negotiate a better rate." If he only knew. The notice I'd sent yesterday, carefully timed for this exact moment, wasn't about a review. It was about the hidden clause in their lease agreement, the one that gave the building owner the right to terminate all tenancy with 24 hours notice if certain conditions were met. Conditions like failing to maintain proper corporate governance, such as wrongful termination. I placed my last personal item in the box, a small silver frame holding a photo of my grandfather. He was standing in front of this very building 30 years ago, back when it was just an abandoned warehouse in a forgotten part of the city. One day, he had told me, people will realize that true power isn't about having the biggest office. It's about owning the ground beneath their feet. I was 12 when he said those words. By 15, I was studying real estate law in my spare time. By 22, I had incorporated Phoenix Holdings using the money he left me. And by 25, I owned this building, leasing it to Maxwell Industries at a surprisingly reasonable rate. Not because I needed their money, but because I knew that one day, this moment would come. "One more thing," Robert said as I picked up my box. "The severance package we discussed. The board has decided it would be more appropriate to allocate those funds to Sarah's signing bonus. I'm sure you understand. Family first after all. Family first." How many times had I heard those words? When Sarah needed tuition money for her 3rd attempt at college, leaving me to pay my own way. When she crashed her new car and needed a replacement while I took the bus to work. When she decided she wanted my job, and our parents called to tell me how selfish I would be to stand in her way. "Of course," I said, walking past him, "family first." The elevator ride down was quiet, but my mind was racing. By now, my lawyer would have received my message and started the proceedings. The eviction notice would be delivered first thing tomorrow morning, giving Maxwell Industries exactly 24 hours to vacate the premises. Their lease violation, my wrongful termination, would be clearly documented, along with a detailed record of every instance of workplace discrimination I carefully logged over the years. In the lobby, Catherine Maxwell was waiting with Sarah. My sister was already wearing a new designer suit, probably bought with her signing bonus, my signing bonus. "Oh good, you're leaving," Catherine said, not bothering to hide her disdain. "Daddy said you were being difficult about the office. Sarah needs to start redecorating right away." Sarah at least had the decency to look slightly uncomfortable. "I'll take good care of everything," she said, reaching out as if to pat my arm. I stepped back, adjusting my grip on the box. "I'm sure you will. Just like you took good care of my career." "Don't be dramatic," Catherine rolled her eyes. "It's just business, nothing personal." Nothing personal. Just like it wasn't personal when Sarah told the board I was emotionally unstable. Just like it wasn't personal when she spread rumors about my inappropriate relationship with clients. Just like it wasn't personal when she convinced her parents to support her bid for my position. "You're right," I said, walking toward the exit. "It's just business." Outside, the rain had stopped, but the air was heavy with the promise of more to come. I placed my box in the trunk of my car, not the newest model, not the flashiest, but paid for with my own money. As I closed the trunk, I caught my reflection in the window. I didn't look like someone who had just lost everything. I looked like someone who was about to win. My phone buzzed with a text from my lawyer. "Documents ready. Notice will be served at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Are you sure about this?" I typed back a single word. "Proceed." Driving home, I thought about tomorrow. About Robert Maxwell's face when he realizes that his company has 24 hours to vacate their headquarters. About Catherine's reaction when she learns that her father's reliable tenant is actually the person they just fired. About Sarah's expression when she understands that her new office isn't hers to redecorate after all. But mostly, I thought about my grandfather's words. True power isn't about having the biggest office. It's about owning the ground beneath their feet. As I pulled into my driveway, a modest house in a quiet neighborhood, nothing that would suggest I owned one of the most valuable commercial properties in the city, another text came through. This one from Sarah. "No hard feelings, right? You understand it's just business. Family dinner on Sunday." I left it unanswered. After tomorrow, there would be plenty of time for family discussions, but for now I had work to do. The documents my lawyer had prepared weren't just about eviction. They detailed every violation, every instance of discrimination, every questionable business practice I'd documented over the years. Maxwell Industries wasn't just losing their headquarters, they were about to face the kind of legal scrutiny that could bring down their entire empire. Inside my house, I went straight to my home office. Unlike the corporate space I just vacated, this room held my real achievements, the deed to the building, the incorporation papers for Phoenix Holdings, the carefully maintained records of every interaction with Maxwell Industries over the past 5 years. I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop. Time to set everything in motion. First, an email to all Maxwell Industries employees, scheduled for tomorrow morning. Due to circumstances beyond our control, all employees are advised to work from home until further notice. Building access will be restricted as of 9 a.m. tomorrow. Next, a press release also scheduled for tomorrow. Phoenix Holdings LC announces immediate termination of lease agreement with Maxwell Industries due to substantial violations of terms. Finally, a message to the building management team, instructing them to change all access codes and secure the premises at exactly 9 a.m. My phone buzzed again. A text from my mother. "Sarah told us what happened. We're very disappointed in you. Why couldn't you just help your sister succeed?" I placed the phone face down on my desk. Tomorrow they would understand. Tomorrow they would all understand that success built on betrayal is no success at all. The rain started again, drumming against my window as I finalized the preparations for tomorrow. In less than 24 hours, Maxwell Industries would learn a valuable lesson about underestimating the quiet one, the careful one, the one they thought they could discard. They thought they were firing an employee. Instead, they had just awakened a landlord who had been waiting 5 years for this very moment. And Sarah? Sarah would learn that some games are won long before the other players even know they're playing. I closed my laptop and walked to the window, watching the rain fall in the growing darkness. Tomorrow would be interesting indeed. 9 a.m. couldn't come fast enough. I arrived at the building at 8:30, parking across the street to watch the morning unfold. Maxwell Industries employees were already streaming in, coffee cups in hand, blissfully unaware that their workday was about to take an unexpected turn. At 8:45, I spotted Robert Maxwell's black Mercedes pulling into his reserved parking spot. Sarah's red BMW followed close behind. No doubt they had coordinated their arrival to make her first day as impressive as possible. At exactly 9 a.m., my phone lit up with a series of notifications. The security team confirming the access code changes. The building management system automatically locking all entrance points. And most importantly, a video call from my lawyer showing the eviction notice being served to a very stunned Maxwell Industries receptionist. I watched through my car window as chaos slowly spread through the building. Employees gathering in confused clusters near the entrance. Security guards explaining that their access cards no longer worked. And then the moment I had been waiting for. Robert Maxwell bursting through the front doors, his face red with rage, waving what I knew was the eviction notice. My phone rang. Robert Maxwell's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Sarah this time. I watched her pacing near the building entrance, phone pressed to her ear, designer suit already showing signs of distress. I declined the call. A third call, Catherine Maxwell. Decline. Then a text from Sarah. What did you do? I stepped out of my car, straightening my jacket. Time to make my entrance. The crowd parted as I approached, whispers spreading like wildfire. Robert Maxwell spun around, eviction notice crumpled in his fist. You, he snarled, realization dawning on his face. Phoenix Holdings. It's you. I smiled, feeling surprisingly calm. Good morning, Mr. Maxwell. I see you've received the notice regarding your lease termination. This is ridiculous, he shouted, waving the paper. You can't just evict us. We have rights. Actually, I pulled out a thick folder from my briefcase. I can. Section 7, Paragraph 3 of your lease agreement clearly states that any violation of corporate governance, including wrongful termination of employees, constitutes grounds for immediate lease termination. Would you like to review the documentation of my termination yesterday? Sarah stepped forward, her confidence visibly shaken. This is insane. You're just trying to get revenge because you couldn't handle me taking your job. Taking my job? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Sarah, you didn't take my job. You conspired with Catherine to spread lies about me. You manipulated our parents into pressuring me to step aside. You stole my severance package, and now, I gestured to the building behind her. Now you have no job at all. Catherine pushed through the crowd, her perfect composure cracking. Daddy, do something. He can't do this to us. But Robert Maxwell was already on his phone, presumably talking to his lawyers. His face grew paler with each passing moment as he presumably learned what I already knew. The eviction was legally binding, and Phoenix Holdings had every right to enforce it. 24 hours, I announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. That's how long you have to vacate the premises. Any belongings left behind after that time will be considered abandoned property. 24 hours, Robert's voice cracked. We can't possibly move an entire company in 24 hours. We have clients, contracts, meetings. The same amount of time he gave me to clear out my office, I reminded him. Nothing personal. Just business, right? Sarah grabbed my arm, her eyes wide with panic. You can't do this to me. I'm your sister. I gently removed her hand. Family first, remember? That's what you always said. Well, this is me putting family first. My family company, Phoenix Holdings. The crowd of employees had grown larger, many filming the scene on their phones. I knew by noon this would be all over social media, but I didn't care. 5 years of careful planning had led to this moment. Oh, and one more thing, I pulled another document from my briefcase. This is a notice of legal action against Maxwell Industries for workplace discrimination, defamation, and breach of contract. My lawyers will be in touch. Robert lunged forward, his face purple with rage, but his daughter held him back. You'll regret this, he spat. I'll bury you in litigation. I smiled, thinking of the extensive documentation I had gathered over the years. Every email, every meeting recording, every piece of evidence carefully preserved. I look forward to discovery, I said calmly. I'm sure the board will be very interested in some of the documents I've collected. That got his attention. He knew exactly what I was referring to. The questionable accounting practices, the insider trading, the systematic discrimination. All of it meticulously documented and ready to be revealed. Now, I checked my watch. You have exactly 23 hours and 45 minutes to vacate the building. I suggest you get started. As I turned to leave, Sarah called out, her voice breaking. What about Sunday dinner? Mom and Dad are expecting us. I stopped and looked back at her. Tell him I'm sorry, but I'll be busy. I have a building to lease to a new tenant, one that understands the value of loyalty and proper business practices. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Moving trucks arrived, employees hurriedly packed their belongings, and executives huddled in corners making frantic phone calls. I watched it all from my lawyer's office across the street, where we were already fielding calls from potential new tenants. By midnight, most of Maxwell Industries had been cleared out. I stood in my old office. Sarah hadn't even had time to redecorate and looked out over the city lights. My phone had been buzzing nonstop with messages from family members. Mom, how could you do this to your sister? Dad, we raised you better than this. Sarah, you've ruined everything. But there was one message that made me smile. A text from my grandfather's old number, saved by my grandmother. Your grandfather would be so proud. He always said you were the one who understood what real power means. The next morning, as Maxwell Industries scrambled to find new office space and deal with the PR nightmare, I sat in my home office reading the news coverage. Maxwell Industries evicted. Family drama turns corporate scandal screamed one headline. Sister act gone wrong. The ultimate corporate revenge declared another. But my favorite was from the business section. Phoenix Holdings emerges, the silent giant in real estate. The article detailed how my company had quietly acquired prime properties across the city, with the Maxwell Industries building being just one of many strategic investments. A week later, I received an invitation to a family dinner, not from my parents, but from my grandmother. When I arrived at her house, she was sitting in her favorite chair, a familiar glint in her eye. Your grandfather kept a journal, she said, handing me a worn leather notebook. He wrote about you often, about how you were the only one who understood his lessons about true power and patience. I opened the journal, recognizing his handwriting. My grandson asked me today why I bought old buildings instead of new ones. I told him what my father told me. The real value isn't in what stands above the ground, but in owning the ground itself. He understood. He'll go far, that boy. Sarah called. My grandmother continued, pouring tea. She's moving to another city. Said she can't find work here anymore. Funny how things work out. I nodded, thinking of the offer I'd received that morning from a major tech company wanting to lease the building. Their proposal included plans to create a startup incubator in the lower floors, providing opportunities for young entrepreneurs. You know, my grandmother said thoughtfully, your grandfather always said revenge is a poor man's game. Real success isn't about getting even, it's about getting ahead. I smiled, thinking of the changes I was planning for Phoenix Holdings. It was never about revenge, I told her. It was about justice, and now it's about building something better. As I drove home that evening, I passed the building that had started it all. The Maxwell Industries sign had been removed, leaving a clean slate for whatever would come next. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, her first message in weeks that wasn't angry or accusatory. I understand now, she wrote, what you built, what you achieved. I'm sorry I tried to take it from you. I never realized how hard you worked for everything. I didn't respond immediately. Some lessons take time to sink in, and some wounds need more than words to heal. But as I parked in my driveway, I thought about my grandfather's words one more time. True power isn't about having the biggest office. It's about owning the ground beneath their feet. And now finally, everyone understood exactly what he meant.
The family meeting at Harrison Estate felt more like a victory lap for my siblings than the reading of our grandfather's will. Their designer suits and smug smiles said it all. They'd already divided the valuable assets among themselves. To my beloved grandchildren, the lawyer read, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses, I leave my life's work in investments. My brother Thomas, CEO of Harrison Real Estate, practically vibrated with anticipation. My sister Elizabeth, who ran Harrison Development, had already sketched plans for grandfather's prime Manhattan properties. To Thomas Harrison III, my downtown portfolio. The lawyer continued as Thomas's smile widened. To Elizabeth Harrison Montgomery, the Harrison Tower and associated developments. I sat quietly in my geology-stained field clothes, fresh from my latest survey. 6 months of data collection had confirmed what grandfather and I had discussed in secret. And to Catherine Harrison. The lawyer paused, frowning slightly. The Desert Holdings in Sector 7. The mahogany-paneled room erupted in barely concealed laughter. Worthless sand, Thomas snickered, not bothering to lower his voice. Guess grandfather's senility kicked in at the end. Elizabeth patted my hand with mock sympathy. At least you got something, dear. Maybe build a nice campsite. They didn't notice my slight smile, or the satellite surveys hidden in my worn leather bag. They hadn't bothered to check why grandfather had maintained those worthless holdings for 40 years. Speaking of the desert property, Thomas added, I'll take it off your hands. Say 10,000. Be reasonable, Kathy. It's more than it's worth. My phone buzzed. The geological survey team had arrived. Actually, I stood, brushing desert dust from my clothes. I should head out there now. Wouldn't want to waste my inheritance. Don't get sunburned. Elizabeth called after me, her laughter echoing through grandfather's study. All that sand can be so reflective. They never asked why I'd spent 6 months studying geological formations. Never wondered why grandfather had insisted I get my PhD in petroleum engineering. Never questioned why he'd smiled every time he mentioned his worthless desert holdings. The survey team's message flashed across my phone. Initial drilling tests confirm preliminary findings. Estimated reserves exceed expectations. I turned back at the door. Thomas? About your offer. 10,000 is generous, he smirked. For a bunch of sand. I'll remember you said that, I smiled, at the next shareholders' meeting. The desert sun beat down mercilessly as I stepped out of my dust-covered Jeep. The geological survey team's equipment dotted the landscape like alien structures, their metal frames gleaming against the endless sand. 6 months of secret preparations had led to this moment. Dr. Harrison, Dr. Chin, my former thesis advisor and now head of the survey team, rushed over. The core samples, they're beyond our highest estimates. I pulled out grandfather's old leather journal from my bag. The worn pages contained 40 years of careful observations, subtle hints and patient waiting. He'd known what lay beneath this worthless sand, but he'd also known timing was everything. Your brother's company called again. My assistant Sarah radioed from the base camp. They're offering 20,000 now. Mr. Harrison says he's being more than generous with his baby sister. I checked my tablet showing real-time data from the test wells. The initial pressure readings were off the charts. Grandfather's notes had been precise. He'd mapped every formation, predicted every deposit. He just needed someone with the right expertise to prove it. Ma'am, one of the engineers called out, we've got confirmation from 3 separate sites. This isn't just an oil field. It's potentially one of the largest untapped reserves in the region. My phone buzzed with a text from Elizabeth. Darling, heard you're playing with drilling equipment. Don't hurt yourself. Thomas's offer still stands. The survey team gathered around the main display, their expressions a mix of awe and excitement. The 3D mapping showed what grandfather had suspected decades ago, a vast network of oil-bearing formations, perfectly preserved and untouched. Dr. Harrison, Dr. Chin studied the readings. These numbers, we're looking at billions in extractable crude. Your grandfather's worthless land is sitting on a fortune. Another message from Thomas. Final offer, 50K. Don't be difficult, Kathy. You know nothing about resource management. I smiled, remembering grandfather's last words to me. They see the sand, Katie. You see what's beneath it. Just like I taught you. Sarah, I called to my assistant, prepare the press release, and set up a board meeting at Harrison Oil and Energy. Harrison Oil and Energy? She questioned. That's not. It will be, I replied, watching the sun set over my desert empire. Grandfather registered the name 40 years ago. He just waited for the right heir to claim it. The test well's pressure gauge spiked again, sending the engineers into a flurry of activity. Somewhere in Manhattan, my siblings were probably laughing about their foolish sister playing in the sand. They wouldn't be laughing much longer. Your brother's secretary is asking about the family dinner tonight, Sarah reported. Elizabeth's hosting at the Harrison Tower. Tell them I'm busy, I answered, watching another set of promising readings scroll across the screens. I'm building something in all this worthless sand. Dr. Chin approached with the final survey report. This changes everything in the region. The market implications alone. Oh, I know, I nodded, thinking of Thomas's smug face at the will reading. Market implications are exactly what I'm counting on. The desert wind picked up, sending swirls of sand dancing around the equipment. Soon, this empty landscape would be transformed into a field of derricks and processing plants. The worthless inheritance would reshape the entire Harrison empire. My phone buzzed one last time. Elizabeth again. Thomas is furious you missed dinner. Says you're being childish about the desert property. Do be reasonable, darling. I took a photo of the test well's pressure readings and sent it as my reply. Let them figure it out themselves. After all, they were the business experts in the family. As the night descended on the desert, The survey team's floodlights illuminated our operation like a small city. Each light represented another confirmation of what grandfather had known all along. Latest core samples are ready for analysis, Dr. Chen announced, handing me a tablet with fresh data. The oil quality is exceptional. Low sulfur content, ideal viscosity. My satellite phone rang. Thomas again. I let it go to voicemail, already knowing the message. More condescending advice, another generous offer, probably some threat about family loyalty. Ma'am, one of the junior geologists rushed over. We found something else. The secondary formations, they're showing significant natural gas deposits. I pulled out grandfather's journal again, flipping to a page marked with a faded red ribbon. There it was, his neat handwriting from 30 years ago. Gas pockets likely present in lower strata. Waiting for technology to confirm. Your sister's lawyers are trying to reach you, Sarah reported. Something about family asset consolidation discussions. The wind carried the sweet smell of crude from the test wells. Each drop was worth more than all the patronizing offers my siblings had made. Each reservoir confirmed what grandfather had seen decades before any of us were born. Dr. Harrison, Dr. Chen studied another set of readings. These pressure gradients suggest the field extends beyond the original survey area. Your grandfather's holdings, they might cover only part of the deposit. I smiled, pulling out another document from my bag. Check the property lines again, Dr. Chen. Grandfather bought the adjacent sectors through shell companies. All 40,000 acres belong to the worthless inheritance. The night shift crews were arriving now, their vehicles kicking up dust clouds that glowed in the floodlights. Soon, this quiet desert would hum with the sound of extraction equipment, processing plants and transport operations. Thomas is on his way, Sarah warned. His private jet just filed a flight plan to the regional airport. Perfect timing, I nodded, watching another test well's pressure gauge climb. He can see for himself what his generous offers were really worth. The stars emerged above us, the same stars grandfather had studied while planning this moment. He taught me to look deeper, to see past the surface, to understand that true value often lies hidden. Initial market analysis is ready, Sarah added, based on current oil prices and estimated reserves. Send it to the family lawyers, I interrupted. Along with grandfather's 40 years of survey data. Let them calculate how many Manhattan buildings our worthless sand is worth. The desert night grew cold, but the excitement kept us warm. Each new test, each core sample, each pressure reading confirmed what grandfather had written in his journal. Katie will understand. Katie will wait. Katie will build something magnificent in this sea of sand. Thomas's helicopter appeared as a black dot against the dawn sky, kicking up clouds of sand as it descended near our base camp. I watched from the command center as he stepped out in his perfectly tailored suit, looking comically out of place among the drilling equipment and work crews. What kind of game are you playing, Kathy? He demanded, storming into the air-conditioned module. His eyes widened at the wall of monitors displaying real-time drilling data. No game, brother, I replied, not looking up from the latest core sample analysis. Just managing my worthless inheritance. Elizabeth's voice crackled through the satellite phone on speaker. Thomas, is she there? Make her see reason. Daddy's furious about the drilling permits. Our father, I noted, signing off on another test well authorization, who called my petroleum engineering degree a waste of the Harrison name? Dr. Chen entered with a fresh stack of surveys. Dr. Harrison, the eastern quadrant is showing even higher pressures. We might need to adjust our reserve estimates upward. Thomas grabbed one of the reports, his face paling as he read the numbers. This is impossible. This land was worthless. We had it surveyed 20 years ago. By Harrison Real Estate's preferred contractors? I smiled. The same ones who conveniently overlook problems in your downtown properties? The command center hummed with activity as more data poured in. Each screen told the story grandfather had written in his journal. Each pressure reading confirmed his decades-old predictions. Your latest offer, I continued, pulling up Thomas's email, $50,000? Let's see. At current market prices that would buy you about. I did some quick calculations, 3 minutes of production from a single well. Elizabeth's voice turned sharp through the speaker. Catherine and Harrison, you listen to me. This is family business. You can't just. Family business? I interrupted, projecting grandfather's old survey maps onto the main screen. Like when you both convinced the board to pass over me for the Harrison Industries executive position. Because Katie's too busy playing in the dirt? Thomas's phone buzzed continuously, probably their father, demanding explanations. The great Richard Harrison too, who'd laughed when I chose geology over business school. The financial projections are ready, Sarah announced, entering with a thick folder. Conservative estimates put the field's value at. Don't. Thomas lunged for the folder. This has to go through proper channels. Family channels. You mean your channels? I took the folder calmly. The same ones that valued this worthless land at less than a Manhattan parking spot? The numbers were staggering even with conservative estimates. Grandfather had known, had planned, had waited for the right moment, and the right heir. The press release goes out at noon, I informed them, watching Thomas's face redden. Harrison Oil and Energy announces the largest oil discovery in regional history. Interesting timing with Harrison real estate stock looking so volatile lately. You wouldn't dare, Elizabeth's voice shook. Daddy will never. Daddy will what? I projected the ownership documents. Contest grandfather's will? Challenge my rights to my inheritance? Please encourage him. The publicity would be fascinating. Dr. Chin appeared again. Dr. Harrison, the secondary geological survey. It's confirmed presence of rare earth elements in the deeper strata. Thomas grabbed the edge of a desk, steadying himself. Rare earth elements. The lifeblood of modern technology. Our worthless desert had just become even more valuable. You can't handle this, he tried one last time. You need our expertise, our connections. Like I needed them when I earned my PhD? I pulled up my credentials on the screen. Or when I published pioneering work on desert geological formations. Or maybe when I spent 6 months secretly preparing this operation while you laughed about my inheritance. The satellite phone crackled again. Our father this time. Catherine, stop this nonsense immediately. I'm calling an emergency board meeting. Excellent idea. I agreed. I have some projections the board should see. About the real value of proper geological surveys. And about the future of Harrison Industries. Thomas stared at the operation surrounding us. The crews, the equipment, the steady flow of data confirming what he'd dismissed as worthless. His perfect suit was already stained with desert dust. One last thing, I added as he turned to leave. Grandfather left a message for you both. Sarah. My assistant played the video on the main screen. Grandfather's familiar face appeared, recorded months before his death. Thomas, Elizabeth. If you're watching this, then Katie has proven what I always knew. She saw beneath the surface, beyond the obvious. While you counted buildings, she counted layers of rock. While you measured success in square footage, she measured it in geological time. The desert was never worthless. You were just looking at it through the wrong eyes. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the drilling field as Thomas's helicopter disappeared into the horizon. The command center had fallen silent, but the monitors kept blinking with new data, each flash representing another nail in my siblings' carefully constructed world. Your father's lawyers have arrived at corporate headquarters, Sarah reported. They're demanding an emergency injunction. Perfect timing, I nodded, signing the final documents. The NYSE opens in 20 minutes. The press release went live exactly at noon. Harrison Oil and Energy announces major discovery. Within seconds, trading algorithms caught the news. Harrison real estate stock began to plummet as investors rushed to position themselves for the new reality. My phone lit up with messages, from board members suddenly remembering my potential, from family friends abruptly recalling their support of my career, from Elizabeth's country club associates urgently offering partnerships. I deleted them all except one, a simple text from grandfather's old secretary. He would be so proud, Katie. You saw what they couldn't. Snow fell softly outside the grand Victorian mansion as my family gathered for our annual Christmas Eve tradition. The living room sparkled with expensive decorations, and the massive tree drooped under the weight of designer ornaments. My brother Michael adjusted his Rolex, smirking as I carried my small suitcase up the creaking stairs. Sophia's here, he announced mockingly. Still working as a secretary at that consulting firm? I straightened my simple black blazer, ignoring the designer labels everyone else wore. Executive assistant. I corrected, though my actual role was far different. The attic's all ready for you, Mom called out, not looking up from arranging presents. We needed your old room for Michael's home gym equipment. The attic. Of course. I climbed the narrow stairs, ducking under cobwebs. The space was cold, with a small cot pushed against the wall. Through the dusty window I could see the downtown skyline, including the gleaming Anderson Global headquarters where my family worked. My phone buzzed. Transfer complete. Paperwork filed. Announcement scheduled for tomorrow morning. Sophia. Dad's voice boomed from below. Family meeting in 5 minutes. Try to look presentable. The Andersons are joining us for dinner. I changed quickly into a simple black dress, watching the snow swirl around the office building. My building now, though they didn't know it yet. The family gathered in the formal dining room. Michael's wife Jennifer clinked her crystal glass. Everyone, we have amazing news. Michael's being promoted to senior vice president. Following in my footsteps, Dad beamed, raising his glass. That's my boy. Soon you'll be running Anderson Global. I sipped my water, checking my phone discreetly. 3 minutes until the press release. What about you, Sophia? Mom asked with fake concern. Still happy being a secretary? You could have gone to business school like Michael. I'm content, I replied, watching the office building's lights flicker as the new system activated. The attic suits a secretary, Michael smirked. Maybe if you'd applied yourself like I did. Dad suddenly stood up, face draining of color as he stared out the window. The Anderson Global sign was changing, pixel by pixel. Why? His voice cracked. Why does our office building have your name on it? I smiled, placing my phone on the table. Oh, I bought it last week, along with the entire Anderson Global Corporation. The room fell silent as the last letter changed. Winters International now blazed across the night sky. That's impossible, Michael stammered. You're just a secretary. Executive assistant was my cover, I said, standing slowly. I've been running a private equity firm for the past 5 years. We specialize in corporate acquisitions. Mom's hand shook as she reached for her wine. But how? Remember that worthless inheritance from Grandma? The one you all laughed at me for not selling? I pulled out my tablet, displaying the company's financials. I invested it, built my own firm, and just acquired Anderson Global for $8.2 billion. The doorbell rang, right on schedule. That would be the transition team, I said, smoothing my dress. They'll need the current senior vice president to sign some papers. Oh, and Michael? About that promotion, there's been a change of plans. Dad stumbled toward the window, watching as new security teams entered the building. You own everything? The company, the buildings, the subsidiaries, I confirmed. And yes, Dad, that includes your corner office. Though I think it would make a lovely daycare center for our employees' children. The look on their faces reminded me of every dismissive comment, every missed dinner, every holiday banished to the attic. But success wasn't about revenge. It was about transformation. And this was just the beginning. The transition team filed into our dining room, led by my CFO Sarah Chin. She wore a crisp suit that cost more than Michael's monthly salary. Ms. Winters, Sarah nodded professionally, ignoring the shocked faces around the table. The board has approved all changes. Shall we proceed with the announcements? Of course. I turned to my family. You might want to turn on the news. Jennifer fumbled for the remote, turning on the massive living room TV visible from the dining room. The breaking news banner scrolled across the screen. Winters International acquires Anderson Global in surprise $8.2 billion takeover. This is a mistake. Michael stood up, his face red. I'm calling our lawyers. Your lawyers now work for me, I replied calmly. As does everyone in that building. Sarah, please show Michael the termination papers. Termination? Mom gasped. You're firing your own brother? Not firing, I corrected. Restructuring. The London office needs a junior analyst. If he qualifies. Dad finally found his voice. You can't do this. I've built this company for 30 years. Built it. I laughed softly. You inherited it from Grandfather Anderson. Now I own it. Quite poetic, really. The TV continued its merciless broadcast. Sophia Winters, the 31-year-old CEO of Winters International, has been secretly building her empire for 5 years. Sources confirm she holds controlling interests in 12 major corporations. But the attic? Jennifer whispered. We made you sleep in the attic. Yes, you did. I walked to the window, watching my name glow against the night sky. And every night, looking at that building, I planned this moment. While you were drinking champagne in the dining room, I was building an empire in the attic. Sarah handed me a tablet. The press is waiting for your statement, Ms. Winters. When? Dad asked, slumping in his chair. When did you become this? Remember all those secretary meetings you mocked? Those were with investment bankers. Those basic filing tasks? Analyzing acquisition targets. That cheap laptop I always carried had more processing power than your entire IT department. The security team entered. My security team now. Ms. Winters, the building sweep is complete. All systems transferred to Winters International protocols. Michael lunged forward. You can't just take everything. Surely I can. And I did. I pulled out a small envelope. Inside is your new contract, Michael. Entry-level position, London office. Take it or leave it. Though with your reputation in the industry, you might find other offers. Limited. Mom started crying, her perfect makeup running. But Christmas dinner. The Andersons are coming. No, they're not, I smiled. They're in my office, signing over their remaining shares. Dinner's cancelled. The snow fell harder outside, making my name on the building glow even brighter. 5 years of planning, of hiding in plain sight, of enduring their condescension. All leading to this moment. Sarah, begin the press conference, I instructed. And have someone collect my things from the attic. I'll be taking the penthouse office. The penthouse was Dad's office, Michael protested weakly. I emphasized. Amazing how quickly things change, isn't it? One day you're banishing your sister to the attic. The next day she owns every chair you've ever sat in. I headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Mom? You might want to redecorate. I'm selling the mansion next week. The attic too. Their stunned silence was broken only by the sound of helicopters landing outside. My helicopters coming to take me to my building, my empire, my victory. The next morning, snow still blanketed the city as I stood in my new penthouse office, formerly Dad's sanctuary. The modern design team had worked through the night, transforming the space from traditional mahogany to sleek glass and steel. His pretentious oil paintings were replaced with digital displays showing real-time global market data. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since the takeover. Most interesting were the messages from extended family members who'd always sided with Michael at holiday gatherings. Dearest Sophia, always knew you had potential. Cousin, let's discuss investment opportunities. Remember me from last Christmas? I didn't respond to any of them. Sarah entered with the morning briefing. Your brother is in the lobby demanding to see you. Your father has called 17 times and your mother's trying to access the family foundation accounts, which of course are now frozen. Send Michael up, I said, settling behind my desk. Let's see how he handles the role reversal. Minutes later, Michael burst in, still wearing yesterday's suit. His usual swagger was replaced by barely contained panic. This is insane, he sputtered. London? Entry-level? I have a reputation. I corrected, pulling up his performance records on my tablet. These quarterly reports tell an interesting story. Taking credit for others' work, promoting friends over qualified candidates, 3 harassment complaints buried by Dad's HR team. He paled. Those were misunderstandings. Like how you misunderstood my potential? I stood, walking to the floor-to-ceiling windows. Remember last Christmas? When you said I'd never amount to anything without riding your coattails. Sophia, be reasonable. We're family. Family. I turned sharply. Was it family when you convinced Dad to cut my yearly bonus to pay for your new sports car? When you told the board I was just a secretary during project meetings? When you... My phone buzzed, Dad's 18th call. I answered on speaker. Sophia. His voice cracked. The foundation accounts are being audited, I finished. Along with every decision you and Michael made in the past 5 years. The results are Enlightening. You can't do this to us. Actually, I can. The board meeting starts in 10 minutes. Your presence isn't required or wanted. Michael stepped forward. At least let me keep my clients. Your clients. I laughed. You mean the ones whose portfolios I secretly managed while you took the credit? Check your phone, brother dear. They've all transferred to my direct management. As if on cue, his phone exploded with notifications. His face crumpled as he read message after message of clients jumping ship. The London offer expires in an hour, I said, returning to my desk. Sarah will show you out. When Michael? The Range Rover in your parking spot? Company property. Security will escort you to the bus stop. Once he left, I activated the building's new AI system. Show me the Anderson Global trading floor. The wall transformed into a live feed of hundreds of employees, all watching as my new company logo replaced the old signage. Their faces showed a mix of fear and anticipation. I pressed the intercom. Attention all employees. This is Sophia Winters. In your inboxes you'll find details of the new company structure. Those who earned their positions through merit will be promoted. Those who gained advancement through nepotism will be reassigned. Watching the reactions below, I saw tears of joy from overlooked workers who'd suffered under my father's outdated leadership. Sarah returned. Your mother's here. With divorce lawyers. Dad's assets are company property now, I reminded her. Let them waste their time. Also, the attic contents from the mansion have arrived. I smiled. Have everything donated. Except. I paused. Except the small desk where I planned all this. Put that in the museum we're building in the lobby. A reminder that success doesn't need mahogany offices or family connections. The snow had stopped and my name gleamed in the winter sunlight. Below, Michael trudged toward the bus stop, his designer shoes ruined by slush. In the reflection of my windows, I saw not the attic-dwelling secretary they'd mocked, but the CEO who'd outmaneuvered them all. The intercom buzzed again. Miss Winters? The board is ready for you. Time to show them exactly how a secretary runs a global empire. 6 months after the takeover, spring bloomed across the city. I stood in my penthouse office, now the command center of a global corporate empire. The old Anderson Global was unrecognizable, transformed into a modern powerhouse that had doubled its value under my leadership. My phone buzzed with a message from London. Michael requests a meeting during your European tour next week. Declined, I replied. My brother had struggled as a junior analyst, finally understanding what actual work meant. His designer suits had been replaced by off-the-rack options, his luxury apartment downsized to a studio. Karma had a certain elegance. Sarah entered with the quarterly reports. The numbers exceeded projections by 40%. Also, your mother's outside. Again. I glanced at the security feed. Mom stood in the lobby, clutching her designer bag. Last season's model now. The divorce had left her with considerably less than she'd expected, especially after the auditors discovered Dad's creative accounting. Send her up, I said. It's time. Mom entered tentatively, her eyes widening at the transformed office. Gone were Dad's hunting trophies and leather-bound books for show. In their place stood cutting-edge technology and actual working spaces. Sophia, she began, I've been thinking about what you said at Christmas. About the attic? I kept my voice neutral. About everything. She sank into a visitor's chair. Your father's living in a condo now. Michael's in London. Jennifer filed for divorce. Our whole world wasn't real, I finished. It was built on nepotism and artificial status. And now you're. She gestured at the empire I'd built, all this. I pulled up a holographic display showing the company's global reach. Remember when you said I was wasting time with computer stuff in the attic? Each light here represents a division I created. Technologies Dad never understood, opportunities Michael missed. I saw your Forbes cover, she said softly. The secretary who became a CEO. Interesting title, isn't it? They wanted to focus on the transformation. From attic to penthouse. From dismissed to dominant. Mom's eyes filled with tears. We were wrong. So wrong. I walked to my private elevator, gesturing for her to follow. We descended to the lobby where the new company museum had opened. In the center, behind glass, sat my old attic desk. This is where it happened, I explained. Every night while you hosted parties downstairs, I built this. Every Christmas I spent alone in the attic, I planned another acquisition. Every dismissive comment became fuel. The museum continued through the lobby, showing the company's evolution. The final display showed the Christmas night takeover, complete with Michael's shocked face preserved for posterity. Sophia, Mom whispered, can we ever fix it? I turned to face her. But we can learn from it. Which is why I'm launching the Winters Foundation for Underestimated Women. Converting our old mansion into a technology training center. That attic will be a coding classroom. Her hand trembled as she reached for me. And us. You'll receive a monthly stipend, I said professionally. Enough to live comfortably, not extravagantly. The foundation can use volunteers if you're interested in actual work for once. My phone buzzed. The Asian markets were opening. Time to return to the real world. The past 6 months have taught everyone valuable lessons, I said, heading back to my elevator. Michael learned about merit. Dad learned about accountability. And you? I learned that I had an amazing daughter, she finished, but was too blind to see it. I smiled slightly. Oh, Mom. You learned that success isn't about where you came from, but where you're determined to go. Even if that journey starts in an attic. As I ascended to my penthouse office, I saw my reflection in the elevator's mirrored walls. No longer the attic-dwelling secretary, but a woman who'd transformed rejection into an empire. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in proving others wrong, but in proving yourself right. And as my name glowed against the spring sky, I knew this was just the beginning of my legacy. After all, the view from the top is much better than the view from the attic. I adjusted my laptop screen in my cramped apartment-turned-office, reviewing the confidential acquisition offer that would soon make headlines. 2 years of being dismissed as marriage-obsessed daughter, while quietly building a tech empire. Miss Sophia Zhang? My assistant Rachel appeared with coffee. Your mother's calling again. About the family dinner tonight. I glanced at my screen showing the email from Forbes. If only they knew. Did she mention if David's coming? I asked, referring to the lawyer my mom's friend wanted to set me up with. Yes. Apparently he just made junior partner. Of course. Mom never missed a chance to parade eligible men at family gatherings. The dinner was at the house I grew up in, where Mom could simultaneously showcase potential suitors and critique my life choices. I arrived late, still in my startup founder outfit of jeans and a blazer. Sophia, darling, Mom sighed, couldn't you dress up? David's very successful. David stood holding court in his tailored suit, surrounded by admiring relatives. Law firm life is demanding but rewarding. If they only knew about the offer sitting in my inbox. An acquisition that would make partner salaries look like pocket change. How's the little website going? Dad asked between conversations with David. Growing, I said simply. She's still doing that internet thing, Mom informed them. While David handles major corporate mergers. My phone buzzed, a message from the investment bank. Final valuation complete. Unprecedented numbers for a female founder. Actually, I said, pulling out my tablet, I wanted to discuss something about my company. We've been over this, Mom sighed. A stable marriage dash. Won't be a concern after tomorrow. I opened my email. When Forbes announces their cover story. The room fell silent. I turned my tablet to show them the embargoed Forbes cover. My photo against a stark white background, the headline bold and clear. The future of AI, how this 28-year-old built a $12 billion empire. 12 billion. Dad's voice cracked. The acquisition offer came in this morning. I pulled up the confidential documents. Google wants my AI technology. But they're not the only ones bidding. Mom's perfect hostess smile faltered. Your website. Not just a website. I open my company's real metrics. We've developed an AI system that's revolutionizing everything from healthcare diagnostics to financial markets. Those merger deals you're so proud of, David? Our AI can analyze them in seconds. But you work from your apartment, Mom protested. With a tiny team dash. That's what you saw. I pulled up photos of our real operation. The apartment is just my private office. We have 300 engineers in our main facility, and our AI servers span 3 continents. The dinner guests gathered around, watching as I scrolled through images of vast server farms and breakthrough AI architectures. Those legal analysis tools your firm uses? I looked at David. They're primitive compared to what we've built. Our AI can process 1 million legal documents in minutes, finding patterns human lawyers miss. Dad's chopsticks clattered onto his plate. The funding, how did you dash? Series A through D, I said. Top venture capital firms. The last round valued us at $8 billion. Tomorrow's acquisition offers will push that over 12. But all those nice men we introduced you to, Mom whispered. The doctors, the executives. Were a waste of time, I completed her sentence. While you were planning my wedding, I was planning a technological revolution. You never said anything, David managed, his junior partner status suddenly seeming insignificant. Would you have understood? I projected our AI's capabilities onto the dining room wall using my tablet. Complex algorithms and neural networks filled the space. This, I pointed to a particular sequence, is how our AI outperforms human experts in every field we've tested. Something your top firms said was impossible. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Years of their comments about settling down and finding a good husband echoed in the quiet. Tomorrow morning, I continued, Forbes is running their cover story. Simultaneously, we're announcing the acquisition bids. And those marriage prospects you keep pushing. I smiled at Mom. They'll be reading about me in the Wall Street Journal. Why didn't you tell us? Dad asked weakly. Would you have listened? I turned to face them. 2 years ago I tried to explain my AI vision. Mom suggested I focus on meeting someone nice. You all laughed at my little internet project. My phone buzzed again, Forbes confirming the cover story release time. The press conference is at 9 a.m., I said, gathering my things. After the story breaks. I suggest you watch it. Sophia, wait, David called out. Maybe we could discuss a partnership dash. Partnership? I turned back. Your entire legal approach is obsolete. While you were celebrating partner status, I was making traditional law firms irrelevant. Mom stepped forward, her matchmaking confidence shattered. But darling, marriage, family, can wait until I find someone who sees me as more than a potential wife. I showed them one final document, the foundation papers for my new AI research institute. The Zhang Institute for Advanced AI, where innovation matters more than marital status. As I reached the door, Mom called out, "We just wanted you to be happy." I paused. I am happy. And tomorrow, you'll watch like everyone else as your marriage-obsessed daughter becomes the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. The night air felt crisp as I walked to my car. Rachel waited inside with acquisition documents and tomorrow's press conference materials. How did they take it? She asked. I looked back at the house where my family stood frozen, their worlds upended by the daughter they tried to marry off. They're about to learn, I said, opening my laptop to review the Forbes interview, that some women build empires instead of wedding plans. The corporate auditorium hummed with anticipation. CNBC cameras lined the back wall, tech reporters filled every seat, and Silicon Valley's elite had flown in for the announcement. In the front row, my family sat uncomfortably, their presence requested by Forbes for what they called the tech story of the decade. Ms. Zhang. Rachel approached with the final numbers. Google just raised their bid to $15 billion. Apple and Microsoft have entered the bidding war. I nodded, watching the Forbes website countdown on my tablet. In 10 minutes, my cover story would go live, announcing the rise of the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. David shifted in his designer suit, clutching a printout of our AI's legal analysis capabilities. The same technology that had just made his firm's methods look prehistoric. I still don't understand, he whispered. Your AI system does in seconds what your entire firm does in months, I finished. That's why none of you saw it coming. The tech conference moderator approached the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin. Please welcome Sophia Zhang, whose revolutionary AI platform has . The screens behind him lit up with the Forbes cover. My image dominated the homepage, alongside headlines announcing the biggest tech acquisition battle of the year. Camera flashes exploded as I walked to the podium. Mom's carefully arranged expression couldn't hide her shock. Dad's hands gripped his armrests. 2 years ago, I started coding in my apartment, believing AI could transform how we process information. The traditional tech community called it impossible. My own mother, I glanced at her, suggested I focus on finding a husband. The screens filled with our AI's capabilities, processing speeds and accuracy rates that made traditional software look like calculators. What you're seeing isn't just another tech startup, I continued. It's a fundamental reimagining of how artificial intelligence can think, learn, and solve problems. We've created an AI that doesn't just process data. It understands context, nuance, and human intention. I pulled up live demonstrations. Medical diagnosis with 99.8% accuracy. Legal document analysis in minutes instead of months. Financial market predictions that outperform every human analyst. The audience gasped as the results played out. David's legal career achievements seemed suddenly quaint. The applications are limitless, I continued. Every industry will be transformed. Every professional service we thought required human expertise becomes automatable. Every limitation we accepted becomes optional. But the testing, David interrupted. The regulatory compliance dash is already completed, I replied. While you were celebrating partner status, I was quietly building the most advanced AI platform in history. I revealed our operations full scope, hundreds of engineers, global server networks, years of validated results. The acquisition offers, I noted, are worth more than your firm's entire market cap, David. But this isn't about money. It's about changing what's possible. Mom stood up shakily. Sophia, why didn't you tell us? We could have dash. Could have what? I asked quietly. Set me up with more lawyers? Arranged more family dinners with suitable men? Told me to focus on marriage instead of my hobby? The screens showed more breakthrough data AI capabilities that would reshape industries and redefine human potential. The Zhang Institute launches next quarter, I announced, where we'll push AI even further, staffed by people who understand that real innovation means ignoring conventional wisdom. My phone buzzed. Apple had just topped Google's offer. The biggest bidding war in tech history was just beginning. And those marriage prospects you kept pushing? I looked at Mom. They'll be reading about me in their morning papers, wondering why they didn't see what was right in front of them. 6 months after the Forbes cover, I stood in my penthouse office overlooking Silicon Valley. The tech world had been transformed by our AI, with traditional software companies scrambling to adapt or become obsolete. The Zhang Institute occupied a gleaming campus that made Google's headquarters look modest. Ms. Zhang. Rachel entered with the morning briefings. The UN AI Ethics Committee is here for their review. And, your family's in the waiting area. I turned from the floor-to-ceiling windows displaying real-time AI operations data. All of them. Your parents, David, and several partners from his firm. They've seen the latest legal AI rollout. Of course they had. 6 months of watching traditional law firms become irrelevant had been quite educational. Brief my technical team first, I decided. Let them see what real innovation looks like. Dr. Chen, my chief AI architect, led the procession of engineers, brilliant minds we'd recruited globally, many rejected by traditional tech companies for being too disruptive. The AI's legal prediction accuracy has hit 99.9%, she reported, displaying the metrics. David's firm has requested early access to the platform. Denied, I said firmly. They're not equipped for this level of technology. And their understanding of AI is primitive. The doors opened. My family entered, looking distinctly uncomfortable in our ultra-modern facility. David's law firm credentials seemed almost quaint among our quantum computers. Sophia, Mom began cautiously, these AI results. They're incredible. No, I corrected, they're what happens when you focus on innovation instead of marriage. I gestured to the wall of screens showing our AI processing global data in real time. 6 months. That's how long it took to make traditional legal work obsolete. But our firm's expertise David started, is being replicated by our AI at 10,000 times the speed, I interrupted, pulling up comparative data. Your best lawyers take weeks to analyze complex cases. Our AI does it in seconds with higher accuracy. Your understanding of legal tech is like using a typewriter in the age of quantum computing. Mom stood, her matchmaking confidence destroyed. Darling, surely we can find a way. To what? I laughed softly. Set me up with more successful men? We're not just disrupting industries, we're redefining human knowledge. I revealed our latest breakthrough, AI consciousness mapping. Impossible, David whispered. That word, I noted, is why you'll never work here. While you were making partner, we taught AI to understand human consciousness. It can predict human decisions with perfect accuracy, map emotional responses, and process information in ways your firm can't even comprehend. The screens filled with data that looked like science fiction. AI systems that could read and respond to human thought patterns, predict global events with perfect accuracy, solve problems that had stumped humanity for centuries. Your entire legal paradigm, I continued, is based on human limitations. We're operating at a level where those limitations don't exist. Dad stepped forward. The Forbes cover, we thought was the peak. I smiled. It was just the beginning. The AI revolution is reshaping every industry: law, medicine, finance, even human decision-making itself. My phone buzzed, another breakthrough in the AI labs. We'd successfully mapped and predicted the entire U.S. legal system's decisions for the next decade. The UN is implementing our AI globally, I announced. Every major institution is restructuring around our technology. Except, I looked at David, those two invested in outdated methods to adapt. My position at the firm he began, will be automated within a year, I finished. Your entire partnership does less in a month than our AI does in a millisecond. Mom sank into a chair. But marriage, family, aren't the only measures of success, I said quietly. Something you never understood. I walked to the AI monitoring station, watching our systems reshape global knowledge. This institute isn't just advancing technology, it's making traditional professions obsolete. The daughter you wanted to marry off is redefining human potential. And us? David asked, his voice small. You can watch, I replied. From a distance. Like everyone else who valued status over innovation. The screens behind me filled with more breakthroughs. AI systems that could solve any legal challenge, predict any market movement, unlock any human potential. The future doesn't wait for approval, I said as they prepared to leave. It doesn't care about marriage prospects or partner status. It belongs to those who dare to think beyond convention. As they filed out, I turned back to the AI labs where my teams were reshaping reality itself. Rachel approached with updates on our latest consciousness mapping trials. They still don't understand, do they? She asked. I watched my family retreat through the high-tech corridors, their worldview shattered by the daughter they tried to marry off. No, I said, scanning the data. They're planning weddings. We're merging humans and AI. The sun hit the quantum labs I'd built while they dreamed of my marriage. I hadn't just proved them wrong, I'd gone beyond their idea of success. A year later, I stood on a TED stage. The crowd waited. Today we launched the Zhang AI Scholarship, I announced. $10 billion for young innovators, especially women told to marry instead of dream. Mom sat in the audience, eyes wet. A year of watching me change global tech had silenced her talk of suitors. Our first recipient, I said, is a 19-year-old girl whose parents wanted her to find a husband instead of studying quantum computing. Sound familiar? The crowd laughed. On screen, our AI showed this moment would spark a cultural shift for women in tech. Success isn't in rings, I said. It's in lives changed and futures reimagined. Later, Mom whispered, I was wrong. About everything. I hugged her. You gave me motivation, proving people wrong. Behind us, screens showed AI solving problems once thought impossible. And marriage, she asked. When I meet someone who dreams as big as I do, I smiled. But until then, I'm building a legacy of innovation. The future glowed ahead, clear to me and already predicted by our AI.